Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing the Panerai Luminor Marina Titanio, the PAM00177 in titanium. It's 44 millimeters in diameter, 15 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, 53.5 millimeters across the wrist with a 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The watch wears easily on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, but take note, big is the look. It's not supposed to be proportional. Panerai watches were originally crafted for people who are going to war underwater, and they would generally wear those early watches on biceps. So this timepiece right here is decidedly more wearable on a wrist. And while the lugs are broad, they don't quite overlap the edge of my wrist. So I think you can wear this watch on a wrist my size, 16 centimeters, or a wrist that's larger. All in titanium and sapphire, it is a very, very light watch. And while it's not going to fit underneath the tightest of dress cuffs, you should be okay with a jacket. Taking a quick look at the strap, it's decidedly upscale. Most Panerai watches feature rubber, textile, or when they do have leather, calfskin. This is a large rectangular scale, medium brown alligator leather strap with a contrasting stitch, a broad folded side. It is a folded side, though it looks sheer. It's not cut through. And then we have calfskin on the bottom. It's a brand new Panerai factory strap, and it is paired with a matching trapezoidal Panerai titanium pin buckle. The case is all satin, which in my opinion is in good taste, as this watch is large, somewhat brash, and highly prominent. Muting its reflectivity makes it more palatable as an everyday timepiece. And this is the Alessandro Bertolini case, the tuna can design that was coined back in 1993 when Panerai employee Alessandro Bertolini created what were the first replica Officine Panerai watches. That is, they were watches made by Panerai, but they were reproductions with some liberties taken of the watches that had been built for the Italian Navy and its allies. And these so-called replica Officine Panerai watches launched in 1993. There were three initial models. One was the Mare Nostrum chronograph, one was the Luminor with two hands, the Base, and then the Luminor Marina, two hands with constant seconds. So a three-hand watch. Those were the three original models. And while we would later get the 1950 case, which was a little bit more curvaceous and historically oriented, this was the original case design that bowed back in 93. A watch that spawned a million Paneristi online. And online really was the original community nexus for Panerai fans, because the company itself, both as a freestanding Italian concern and later under Vendôme, did a bad job of marketing itself initially. The watch mostly tells the story, though. You can see the timepiece, loosely based on those created for the Italian Navy, has this device protecting the crown, which might be the single most recognizable crown in the world. I cover up the watch, and you can easily see which company it is and what model line it is. You know this is a Panerai Luminor. It's called the device protecting the crown. The Officine Panerai name came into play later on, but back during the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Panerai, through its various iterations as a defense contractor, had Rolex build most of the watches that it supplied to the Italian Navy. The problem was the Rolex Oyster Crown, while water-resistant initially, had to be threaded in and out continuously to manually wind those watches, and over time the continuous threading in and out would undermine the crown seals, so they needed a way to lock and unlock the crown that didn't wear down the seals. So they came up with this locking lever. It has a cam built in, and the modern versions, as you can see here, have a little bearing in the cam. That compresses the seal, that decompresses the seal, so you never actually have to thread through. As soon as I pull the lever, the watch has been unlocked. I can wind it. If I want, I can pull the crown out and I can set it, and then I can just lock it again like that. And this prevents me from having to thread the crown in and out, but it also makes it harder to damage the crown, as I can't hit the crown head on the way I can with a conventional shouldered crown guard. It's also hard to drown your watch. It's easy to leave your threaded crown out a few turns. It's very hard to miss this. And of course, the watch is easier to operate when your hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved, because the crown tension is released as soon as you open the lock, whereas on a screw-down crown, they can be screwed down quite tightly, and if your hands are wet or slimy, you might have trouble opening that type of a crown. This, again, it's unlocked the second you pull the lever. The dial is what's called sandwich construction, and historically this is how the Panerai watches would have been made. A fully luminescent disc and then a stencil on top. So you see a stencil with the numerals and the indices. It creates a distinctive luminescent look as you can look down into the wells, giving some sort of a three-dimensional quality that's rarely seen on conventional sports watches. Turning it all over, we have what they call the Panerai OP11. I call it a Unitas ETA 6497/2. All this is water resistant down to 300 meters. You can see it on the case back. We have that 1970s era OP logo representing tools for both below and above the water. We have a O serial number and, of course, the millissummation with Panerai watches. You have a different letter each year, and then you have the number made that year and the individual serial number out of that number produced. And this one's O, which corresponds to the year 2012. The movement was born as a pocket watch and desk clock caliber. Manual wind. It has a 56-hour power reserve. It pivots on 17 joules. It is adjusted in 5 positions. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it is a certified Swiss chronometer certified by the COSC. If you've ever wondered the difference between a 6497.1 and a 97.2, it's the beat rate. Here, 3 hertz rather than 2.5 hertz, and it's the power reserve. A standard /1 has a 42-hour power reserve. This is 56 hours. And this is all decorated by machine, admittedly, but highly decorated to Panerai's spec so that it is much more handsome than the base 6497 Bausch, which is incredibly raw. This is much more attractive. Reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Panerai Luminor Marina PAM00177.